how on earth did the repair shop come about? Because if you're watching this on my channels, you may not have heard of it, but the repair shop is on, what channel is it on? One.
Now we've just been bumped up. We've been upgraded. BBC One, 8 o'clock. Nice. The new series is yeah. So
and how many series are you in?
We have just finished filming. Well, apart from the COVID, we've kind of like a bit late. We haven't quite finished it, but that's series 6. Amazingly.
So how long has it been going? How many?
About, I think that's 3 or 4 years. 3 years maybe.
Did you come in on the beginning?
Well, yeah, I've been involved from the very start because they first got in touch with me to make them the sign, the light up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I designed and built that for them from day one, when nobody. It was just like, oh, we just kind of got an email. It's just like, oh, some little thing. A new show, a bit of a pilot. Nobody really knows how it's going to go. So I made this sign. We've got this cool looking barn. I was like, yeah, cool. That sounds fun. I'll do that. And then ended up on maybe like 2 or 3 episodes on series 1. And then it's just kind of escalated more and more. And now I'm there full time.
And your title is it Random Task, yours?
I think I'm a bit of a jack of all kind of, yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
It does seem like people do have a go at different things. I mean, I know David Burville was on there, who's an organ builder, but I've seen him do other little jobs.
Yeah, how do you know David Burville?
Yeah, no, he repairs my organ on the Gallop on the yachts.
Oh, he's brilliant. Well, this is the thing. I think this is the joy of that barn. It's like, even though people are there and I don't like it, but they kind of call us all experts. And it's just like, fair enough, they're very good at what they do. Someone like David Burville, yeah, he comes into the show to do organs and things like that, and like pump organs and things. But he like French polishing, like veneering and woodwork. Like, he's got a huge set of skills. It's amazing. You get speaking to people and it's just like, yeah, I'm here as the silversmith, but actually I used to race classic cars, or I used to do this and I used to do that. And it's just, there's so much knowledge inside shared amongst those people. It's good to, I quite like that we're not too pigeonholed.
Yes.
It's quite good.
Must make it fun. The thing I like about it most is the fact that they're not necessarily very valuable pieces, but they're sentimental.
Yeah, exactly.
And I really admire that. I mean, for instance, upstairs, I've got a chair that's probably 1950s that was we used to have some old sheds, and there was an old like First World War army hut, which regrettably they knocked down. Not from the RAF hut, all like metal windows with a putty on the outside.
Awesome.
Sort of matchboarding on the outside. It was a great old building, and we sort of cobbled it along, kept it alive. But there was this old chair in it, 1950s, and it's just this beautiful bit of design. But it was covered in paint, but it was my dad's chair.
Oh.
And it wasn't about what it was, but I just did it up, and I've got it in my son's bedroom, and it's I just love it. I wouldn't sell it, but for all the tea in China, and you can tell these people are the same. They've got this attachment of these sometimes really wacky things, but the attention and detail that goes into restoring them is just lovely.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. That's the beauty of these, like the items that we work on are lucky in a way, because if it wasn't for the show, 9 out of 10 of the things wouldn't get fixed. They've already taken them to 5 or 6 other people, tried to get other people, but nobody will touch them because, like you say, they're not worth financially fixing, not worth paying someone to fix. And that's the trouble, that these things are just sitting hidden away, like rotting in the shed or hidden in the loft. They broke it 20 years ago and it's been hiding somewhere. And we're getting the chance to fix it. I would never usually get to work on some of the things that we get to work on, ever. So it's a really unique opportunity. Yeah.
But sometimes I'll get approached to restore stuff for other people, and if I've got time, I've taken stuff on, and wagons are the one, living wagons. You kind of say to him, well, whatever you think it's going to cost, or whatever I think it's going to cost, it'll be 2.5 times more.
Yeah.
And when it's done, it won't be worth what you spent on it. The price will often drop.
Yeah.
It's the same with a Land Rover, with anything. These things are money pits, so you've got to do it for love.
That's it. You've got to want to do it for that. Are they timber frames, like coach built almost, timber frames and aluminium? Yeah. Those living wagons, yeah.
But earlier on, they were timber frames with matchboarding and stuff. And like, for instance, my mum's wagon is a 1948 Vosper, as in Vosper who made boats.
Oh, right. Oh, I see.
So was it Vosper Thornycroft? But Vosper,
Sure.
they built 12 showmen's living wagons after the war, because of course they had all this workforce and no boats, but they weren't in so much need.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And, they made it imply, and the windows are kind of different to normal ones because it was their mentality. And what is it? I always get it mixed up. What's this on a boat? Start, port, and what's it called?
Oh, port and starboard, isn't it?
That one, yeah. And
I
the
know
other,
which way around it goes. But
well, that was written on the wagon. That was their way. Yeah, that was their way.
Boat builders.
Yeah, and so solidly built. But that was first made in ply, and then clearly it leaked or it delaminated, and then it went over the top with aluminium. So underneath the aluminium was the original decoration.
Oh, wow.
From the ply, and then that obviously didn't last long, and it got, so you find all these things when you were storing this stuff.
Awesome.
And it used to, well, it's still got a marble fireplace in it.
Oh, you're
in the living wagon. So the wagon actually just slightly lists over on one side. And when my dad passed nearly 20 years ago, when my dad was alive living in a wagon, he had 1,500 jazz records, 78s. On the other side, and that was the rest of balance. But they're not in there anymore, so it's just slightly list. You just have to.
Oh my god! So what do you do? Situations like that, when you get that wagon and you take that aluminium off, and you find the original ply that's delaminated and no good, with hints of the original like the original decoration on it. Has it got aluminium now, or did you put it back to ply?
Yeah, no, it's aluminium. Oh, no, plywood's a nightmare. I would imagine it wasn't long before it had aluminium put on it.
No, plywood is definitely not a finished material, is it, for something that's going to be outside?
Well, when I was 15, I actually bought my first home with my brother. We bought an old 1938 Bristol bus, and we converted it to live in.
No.
So by the time I was about 17, I was, living there, and that was fairly short-lived in the sense that I moved out into another wagon, and he ended up buying that. But I bought a living wagon off my parents. It was a Brayshaw, a 1940s Brayshaw that they had bought 10 years before.
Yeah,
and it was cream and brown and all skirted off and quite ugly.
Right.
But it was like the ugly duckling. When I started restoring it and researching it, I found out that it was all, they'd modernized it in the 60s or thereabouts, and all underneath was the original, woodwork with fiddle ends, and the original scrolls were still underneath it.
Oh my goodness!
The gold scrolls, and because they panelled over it but left a gap, and it was just the best thing ever.
Oh.
Restoring this wagon. And I found right in the corner up on the Mollycroft the original design for the lining, which was what you call a Greek key. In fact,
in the corner on the front. Oh yeah,
Greek key like that. There was a slightly different lining design. Well, and I can remember my dad saying, "Oh, that wouldn't suit that wagon." And my dad was basically, he was a law. It was a dictatorship. He said it, and I was a pain in the ass, stubborn. I was too similar to him, basically.
You're a teenager, yeah.
No, and I was like, no, I've got to be done like that, Dad. It's got to be done like that. And I was a real stickler for it. And I think it was, and in the end, I copied that design. I did it as it should have been, as it was.
Good.
And the only time my dad ever admitted that I was right.
Oh.
He said, "I've got to admit something. That does look good." Thanks, Dad.
Well, it wasn't your idea, though. It was
exactly.
They knew what they were doing. Yeah.
We say that, if you find out and you can copy the colour, this, that, and the other, you're that's someone else's. And sometimes you might not like it, but I still think you've got a duty to. There's exceptions to every rule, but something historic like a wagon.
Yeah, I guess it's different for you because you've got your fair colours, haven't you? I suppose, but I quite like that with classic cars. I've got a Porsche that I've just recently got, and so many people message me, like, "Oh, what colour are you going to paint it?" It's like, well, I don't know. Can't choose. It was originally blue. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
It's literally got all the original paint inside and the paint code there. It's just like, I'm not going to go and paint it yellow. Because of course it has to be blue.
Your current series is on now. When does that run till? You've got Christmas specials coming up and all sorts, haven't you?
Yeah, there's a lot coming up. So this series now is 8 p.m. BBC One. It pretty much goes up until Christmas now. I think we've filmed 2 previous Christmas specials, and I think they're showing both of them. And then towards Christmas, I don't actually know when yet, but this year we filmed a brand new Christmas special, and it's probably the best one we've filmed. It's really, really good. Every year, it kind of like it gets better and better. So,
are they Christmas related things you restore then?
Yeah, kind of. I can't say too much, but they're kind of like a Christmas related story or like a Christmas present back in the day, something like that, stuff like that. So, but it's brilliant.
What's the most fun thing you've ever restored on there?
It's fun. I just, you know what? It's hard to pick. I just like, and I think that's what I appreciate about what you do as well, is I absolutely love fixing things that are going to go back and be used. So whether it's like a pedal car or a butter churn or, it doesn't matter, kid's toy, a merry-go-round, seeing that kid spinning around on it at the end of the day, or someone pedaling off in that pedal car, that's the best bit. So it's just when something is going to be back used as it should be, that's my favorite. Every time it gets me, it's just like, this is awesome. I could never just work on like ornaments or furniture, things like that. I can, but it's kind of something about machines and practical things that do things. I love it. So, you know what, we spend, I don't know how many hours, because when we're down at the repair shop, we all stay locally in hotels and stuff. We all get together and go for dinner afterwards. And people come from all different backgrounds and disciplines. Some people have kind of come from a conservation side, and whatever they do, it's preservation, conservation. We're not touching it. We're doing as little as possible, the least invasive as possible. They would never have repainted that, and leave it like it is. But then some people come in with a background of restoration, which is probably more like myself. Well, I'm kind of in the middle somewhere, and then it's not arguments, but it's kind of like, no, but you need to restore it. It's like, no, but you need to, it's so many of our dinners are kind of like having these debates, and it is a huge part of working on it, owning, and like you say, being a custodian of these old things. It's like, it's doing the right thing for them, for the item, for whatever it is, whether it's a car or it doesn't matter. It's important that we look after them. Yeah.
And our biggest problem is the artwork, because we have got some historic artwork, and in some cases I've built completely new panels, so that bit can be kept even if it's tired.
Brilliant.
And then replicate it, because but the bottom line is safety is paramount. If I'm concerned that you I'm sure you know yourself, you can take a bolt out, the head and the nut look beautiful.
Yeah.
And when you take it out, it's whittled down to
that's it.
Of what it should be. Well, that is more important than the paintwork.
Yeah.
So those bolts come out, they get new ones back in, and then it gets repainted where necessary. But sometimes we will try and save stuff. And I absolutely love original artwork. The patina on it is fabulous. Yeah. But we intend to make our stuff look as fresh as possible, like it was when it was new.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's so it's sort of factory setting, and I've done stuff and found the original colours. I did that, and then that was a tough one. I've got a ride called the Ark, and amazing. It was built in 1934, so it's a round. A lot of waltzers were converted from Arks.
Okay.
Round ride with 4 hills, goes up and down.
Oh, sure.
Full of animals.
Right. Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then slightly checkered. It then had chariots put on 3 of them, which were popular, and then it had 6 bikes put on it, right, and some rodeo, but basically unbelievably original. Built in 34, they sold it in 1938 to a gentleman called Teddy Andrews from Tunbridge Wells.
Oh.
And he owned it until he sold it to me in 2005.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Did he have a fair? Yeah.
He had his own fair, and he had a Dodgem and a Chairplane and tenants, and he was a very... He didn't have any kids. He had a sister, Mavis. She was lovely. He was of the other persuasion, should we say, which wasn't talked about in those days. But he didn't have any kids, and he was such a lovely man. And he just loved this ride, because I think he was like 14 when they got it or something silly. I wasn't quite sure of his age, but he absolutely loved it. And even after he sold everything else, he kept it, and he'd bring bits out and paint them. And it was ridiculous here. But in fact, it's still got the flat belt drive on it.
Oh, cool.
which is a pain in the arse, and it throws it off.
Practical to actually get to work without, yeah.
You know, when it's working, it's great, and sometimes there's too many people on it and it'll throw it off. You have to get underneath, and it takes it 5-10 minutes to put the belt back on.
Oh my God.
I kind of, you know, this is me. No one knows but me unless you look underneath.
Yeah.
But it's working. You know, let's leave it alone. But so I bought the ride off him, where he touched it up over the years. So that, you know, if it was a blue, he replaced that bit with a blue. But Chinese Whispers, so the outside of the machine, which has got the sun, had lost its original paintwork, but been done exactly the same again and again.
Okay.
On the inside was what people perceived as the original paintwork, and people were like, "Oh my God, you can't paint now. You can't paint now." And I can remember building up in the yard, walking around, and
Just
actually, it was really tarnished and really gone back and a lot of damage. And I thought, I've got to repaint it. I can't. It's got to be done. It might be done, but this isn't a museum. People are going to get on this and ride this. I want 4 and 5-year-olds to go, I need to get on that. When I stripped the first one off, we weren't looking at the original paintwork. I found all the original paintwork underneath.
Really?
Yeah. So and I would say it was repainted it was built by Orton and Spooner, and that was the Sid Howe father-son combination.
Okay.
Same name. And I would say it was redone by them as well, because it was in the same vein, but they'd have to be faithful to it, because it was 10 years old. Why would they were giving it a new coat of paints? So the second coat that everyone knew was lovely, but the first coat was like, wow, that's so vibrant, that's amazing. So literally colour matched every single colour.
Did you?
Them on and redid them, and the same with the pay box, the top centres, and then I had effectively the palette to decide what colour to do the outside, which I did purely from a black and white photo and the tones.
And so, okay. Oh, that's interesting. I've just been reading about in your book about, that's so interesting, that bit there where you talk about choosing the colours and knocking it into black and white.
Yeah.
To see which colour. It's clever. I've never really heard of that before. That's good.
Well, it's just trying to get across to people, because I mean, and often there are a lot of fairground artists, they feel obliged to use every primary and colourful colour. I know it sounds crazy, but when you whack them all together, if the tone is too similar, you can't register it. You need the colour. It's like, well, the covers behind me. It's like the dark blue next to the gold. That's, you know, one complements the other, and so on and so forth. There's a ridiculous amount of colours on that. I overdid that about 15 colours before. I was going to do a competition actually, and ask people how many colours they think. Well, I know how many colours I put on it, but yeah, I got a bit excited with that.
How many different colours? Yeah, but that's it. It's not as easy as just the complementary colours. It goes way beyond that, doesn't it? Just kind of what works and like you say, catches your eye, stands out. Yeah, it's a whole different ball game. Yeah,
I love colours. My dad was I don't know if it's even a thing. I say my dad was a coloursmith. My dad went to the Slade School of Art.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And that's why, you know, he met Peter Blake back in the 80s, and they just got chatting and became friends. So he's, you know, he's a friend of the family, and I'm good friends with his daughter. Right. And so my dad did lots of different things when he started. He was very much not approved of by his parents. His dad was a policeman, and as you know, his mum was a housewife. And they just
did a policeman, and he's gone from that.
His dad,
to start an affair.
Yeah, and they just wanted Dad to just do a normal job, and he just wanted to do anything but. And he was a show promoter, but before that, you know, he was a bouncer. He was a debt collector at one point. He had it was the only new vehicle Dad bought. He bought a minivan, and he had someone sign write as big as possible debt collector down it.
Wow.
And he was like 6'4", Dad. And debt was shameful back then, and he just turned up, and they run out and gave him the money. You know, but you know, he did all these different things, and he got himself into the Slade School of Art. I don't think his teacher would help him or something. He was a bit of a renegade, my dad. Yeah. But at the same time, he was stock car driving, and they actually kicked him out of the Slade School of Art because he was stock car driving professionally. They binned him out. But he told this wonderful story, and I might have said on the course, he said, everyone who went to the Slade was like cock of the north, from you know, from all over the country, and they're all sort of walking. Look at me, I've got in here, and they all sat around, chatting. And after half an hour, the tutor came in and gave everyone a bit of tracing paper. Said, sit down. And he went over to the wall and he put 5 dots on the wall. Stay seated, draw those. And off he went. And half an hour later, he came back, and one by one, took their bit of paper, put it up against it.
Over the top.
Up. Next one, all of them. So the whole class suddenly went, boo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, now, what you need to learn to be able to do is make your hands do what your eye can see. Yeah. And I just thought that was really interesting, because you can see letters in your head, but can you actually get it down on paper?
Actually drawing them is, exactly, a whole other thing.
But my dad, so when we started the fair, so much stuff had been lost in translation. The 1970s was, fairs just didn't have the charm they had at the kind of stuff that our fair's built of now.
Yeah.
And so he did his research and spoke to enthusiasts about what colour things used to be and stuff, and sort of picked colours. And he was just so good at picking colours. And so when I was growing up, when I was, I learned to paint when I was 17. Dad said, "What colours paint things?" And no ifs or buts. Dad picked everything. Right. And then one time I was restoring a set of swing boats. I must have been 20. And there was a set of 1920 Thomas of Church. It's beautiful. In fact, we're repainting the legs at the minute. And I kind of had reference from what was on there. And I was just kind of doing it. And when it was done, I thought, I did that. Dad didn't tell me what to do. And then I looked at it and I thought,
it looks all right.
I've just picked the colours Dad would have picked.
Is this your first book then? First Carter book?
No. My dad published, I haven't got any in here, but my dad has been publishing books. In fact, my dad used to publish a magazine, which is rare as you like, called Free on the Floor.
Oh.
And that was reference to pedals on the floor. My dad loved cars, particularly American cars,
right.
And stuff. And he did this, and that's how he got into the fair, because he was interested in fairground, and he had people write him articles, and he wrote his own about fairground that went in this magazine.
Right.
So, and we used to print our own brochures for the shows we did and stuff. I can remember as a really small kid, like putting things in envelopes and stuff. So I'm well trained at that.
Yeah, you've been doing it all your life. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I kind of had a lapse for 40 years, but I'm enough going out. And in the 90s, so our steam gallopers, they had a centenary in 1995. So Dad wrote a book to commemorate that.
Okay.
1895, I will say circa 1895. The last sort of 10 years were a bit tenuous to pin down exactly. But Dad decided we need a centenary, so they're 1895.
Yeah, fine. Let's not argue with him. No.
And he did that, and then he liked that. And funnily enough, the swing boats I was talking about, then he thought, I'm going to do a book on swing boats. My dad, I mean, it says in the book, I'm pretty sure I'm dyslexic. I struggle like hell reading and writing.
So do I. I'm so glad there's so many pictures in it. That's quite.
Yeah. But even the font Scarlett, who I did it with, she picked a font, and she made that font up because it's easy to read. It's just tried to make it a really friendly book.
Yes.
To people can just pick up and go, because often people who are autistic that don't always want to do too much reading. They want to look at pictures.
Absolutely.
But Dad did a book on the swing boats and the over boats, and then he did one on the arcade. What else did he do? Oh yeah, and then he did one on living wagons. The last one I did was one on living wagons called the Palace on Wheels. But we're down to a handful. Believe it or not, I charge £100 for those. They were 20 quid. They're that rare to come by. Wow. I don't, they're a hardback.
Yeah.
And then we've since done. We did a really nice black and white one of the fair, and we did another one which is just generally about the fair. But you look at that, and it's quite dated. But this is obviously, it's got stuff about the fair, but it's basically about sign writing and to make life for people. And the only complaint I've had is it's too cheap. So that ain't bad, is it?
No, exactly. I have got no complaints. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I've been sitting reading it. Look how doggy. I've only had it a couple of days. Look how doggy it is already.
That's the idea. It's a workshop copy. I did think about hardback, but no, these you want people using them.
No, you need to, because I'm sort of, what, it's good like this, so I can fold it back. So it's good.
Yeah. It's lovely. It's really, it's really nice to do something that's so well received. Because
it must be really rewarding. Had you planned to do it before COVID or?
So Scarlett has been been friends with Scarlett about a decade, and she had this magazine called Dirty that was all about, you know, she's mates with hot rodders and stuff,
Okay.
people who build their own cars, and it had a really nice field, and she did an article on the fair, and we just became friends. And that magazine, she stopped doing it. I think it was a bit of a thankless task, but she's still in my phone as Scarlett Dirty. And you know, I toyed with doing a book, and in my head it was going to be a big coffee table hardback, you know, just full of lovely pictures,
Glossy pictures.
But this just felt right, because I started doing the online courses, and I had to make worksheets up. You know, I had to make alphabets for people to copy. I had to devise a way of teaching people without knowing if they were doing it right or not. Whereas when I do the courses, then I can look over your shoulder and say this. So, and the way I see it, it was, you know, when lockdown first started, it was tiding people over till the world got back to normal. We didn't know it was going to go on this long, and I didn't know they'd be so popular. So when I did the Learn About Letters, I had to come up with letters and tell people how to scale it up. So it's actually made me look at the way I teach differently. But then I did another course, brushstrokes, and then we had to do a worksheet for that. And then I did fancy letters, and we had to do a worksheet for that. And so we made the skeleton, and I was like, well, let's just do a book.
Yeah.
Let's just keep going. And so we did. And so we were doing Zoom calls like this every day for sort of 2 or 3 months. And then like, we sent it to press, like, how did we turn that around so quickly? People can't believe it. But we were on it, Scarlett especially. And you know, the illustrations in it are hers.
Are they? I did wonder. I was going to ask that.
That's her work, and she's done another book this year that's doing really well, called The Ragged Trouser for Pissed. I can't say that. Which is it a graphic novel? You know, when it's mostly pictures,
like a comic almost.
Yeah. But you know, she's been working on that for years, and we come along, bosh, knock this one out, and
that's it.
But yeah. So the drawings, like, so I'd send her the recordings of the Zoom call. And so there's my hands there, and of course then she draws it and what I'm doing, and so she's done absolutely brilliant. I couldn't have done it without her. I wouldn't have done it. I just wouldn't have got to it. And just the look it's got is just brilliant, because she's a really great artist. Find her on Instagram.
I will. I'll have a look. Yeah. You know, I can speak from experience here that you're a very good teacher, because I've been on one of your courses.
I know you have, and I spoke to you the other day and embarrassed myself because I didn't know you were one of my courses.
Well, it was like 6 years ago or something ridiculous. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, we got the photo, didn't we? Yeah. Oh well, thank you. No, I think I'm. I mean, I was terrible at school. I was the only teachers who liked me were the art teachers, because I was just a little bugger.
And where did this come from then? Being so good at, you're very good at explaining things that are very complicated and technical. The stuff you do is it is very technical, isn't it? Especially with the Roman lettering and stuff like that. I don't know. You're very good at getting it across in a visual way. I don't know.
I think it's passion. I think it's because I love it.
Yeah.
And I want people to learn. I want people. I get upset when it's done badly, so I want people to have the best shot. And bear in mind, when I do the courses, normally 14 or 50 people. And it's amazing the ratio from the left-handed to the right-hand people. Do you know what I mean? It tickles me. The amount of people that hold the palette on. Incidentally, did you buy a palette off me? Because I spotted one on telly the other day. That's like a.
No, you know what I did?
You drew round it, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, unbelievable.
I drew around it and I cut my own one out. Yeah. But I did buy the paint pots from you, and I bought your brushes. I still use your brush, actually. For all that time, I've got 3 of them. Yeah.
Oh, dude. No, it's teach. Yeah, it's just you've got this range of, you'll get 3 people in a class that are like, you're good. And I've taught people that have gone on to make a profession out of it. And all I'm doing is I'm pointing people in the right direction. They're not doing an apprenticeship, but you're a damn sight better of coming and learning with me than not. And it's the same with the online ones. If you're trying to make up yourself, and this is going to help people, this book, I'm giving a lot away in this book.
A lot, yeah.
But there again, if it's, you know, if it's, I still think people want to come and do the course. I've got faith in that, because you can't beat being in a room with someone and be able to say, no, that's wrong, do this, do that. And the other thing is, I'm brutally honest. I won't blow smoke up anyone's arse. I think people appreciate that, because I'm telling people because I want them to learn. I'm not just it's, oh yeah, well done. It's like, well, you actually, no, sorry, that's wrong. And it drives people mad. But people take a sign home at the end of it, and they've done it. I haven't done it. I won't paint someone's sign. So when they hold that up at the end, they've done it.
They've done that.
You do it. So
I've still got mine. I've still got mine on the wall.
What did you write?
Well, you had a go at me, because I my logo's Dom's, like my kind of like company name.
Yeah.
And I did that, but I think I traced it
From.
I had like a printout with me.
Oh my goodness me! What can you do? What can you do?
I know. Yeah, but hey, we're still very shaky. You know,
yeah. I try. What I really want to get across to people is, and it says it in the back of the book. Of course, there's cheats. There's cheats to everything we do. You know, from the worst case of sticking on vinyl, to tracing something to do that. But if you actually take down the bare bones, if you can actually teach people this is how it was done, then they've got the option, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've got the option to, all right. I mean, the other day I wanted to do a bit of lettering that said Scammel.
Okay.
And so I found something on there, and I somehow made the printer work, which I think is like magic. I don't know how that works. And this thing came out, and I went outside. It was quite big, and I had a sign, and it was like, that fits perfectly. I'm going to trace it on, and I did it. And then I thought, oh no, I feel dirty. That's wrong. I need to draw it.
Oh, you didn't?
No, so I did that one, and I sold that one, but I wanted to scale it up. So I did exactly the same methods in that book. I scaled it up. So the ones I do now, and I've sold a few, is my drawing. So you know, of course there's cheats. Of course there's ways of doing stuff and making it easier. But generally speaking, and I think people respond to that. I think that, you know, the warts and all, and the mistakes you make. And you never stop learning. If you think you know it all, you failed. You know, because there's always
constantly. Yeah, it's like anything, isn't it? It's like when I was the boy working with the cars there at the Volkswagen place, it's kind of learning to do things properly, sanding it down by hand. I wasn't allowed anywhere near an electric sander or any kind of power tool sander. Sand it by hand, everything by hand. Once you know how to do it properly, like you say, then you can kind of like, once you understand the basics of it, you can cheat where you need to and stuff. But I still walk around now and look at signs in shop windows and things like that, and you can tell when they've masked off the top and bottom.
Oh, don't.
And you can see it, I was just like, oh no, like the bottom of the O is flat and stuff like that.
It grinds my gears.
Yeah, I bet.
Use it. I just won't use tape, and I'm in the minority, because I'm sure it speeds it up, but you've got perfect lines top and bottom, and then imperfections. It doesn't take that much longer.
No,
just, you know, if you don't use that crutch, you can just get on and do it right.
Quicker, I guess, won't you? I suppose at doing it properly.
Yeah, you just bosh on with it. And the time you've messed around putting tape on and pissing about, and also, you know, because there's people that they call themselves sign writers, but they do their designs on a computer and they stick it on, and it looks computer generated.
It's not got the same. There's something about it, isn't there? You can't quite, like, I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. But I am one of those people, because that's why I came on your course, from my sort of making props and sign writing and like making props and set design and things like that. I needed to put companies' logos on surfaces, whether it's a bar front or things like that, paint it on the side of a marquee or whatever. But it was always companies' logos. So it was kind of an interesting one, because they have to be exactly as the logo.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can paint the signs, but not like this book's telling me to do, by drawing it all by hand. So it's always kind of comes from the computer, which I kind of hate in a way, but I will work on it. Now I've got the book, I promise I'll practice.
you can, you know, that's the thing. You can understand why, if you can blow something up and do it.
Yeah.
But this is coming from a time when they couldn't do that. They didn't, you know, and Stan, who taught me, Stan ended up with a vinyl plotter. So Yeah, he was doing vinyl letters as well as that. And Stan used tape top and bottom because it speeded it up.
Right.
But I just, as a 17-year-old, I just said, well, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do it the traditional way.
Yeah.
But and when Stan worked for us, he had other customers at the time, and in the end, we were virtually his last customer. And when he worked for us, you can't use tape. And so, okay, but we're paying him. It takes a bit longer, so be it. We want it done the way it's, and that's just the way I've done it.
That's it.
And there's definite a passion. There's an interest for it, isn't there?
How was he? Was he a good teacher?
Yeah, he was. He was probably much kinder than me. He was just. I'd basically just go. I'd cycle over to his place. There's a bit of a joke about that because I always mention it's 8.7 miles away, and and I'll just sit there at the easel, and I've got the same easel now, and be it a bit of glass because it's easy to clean off, or a board, and he'd just say, right, write that on there. Use that style there. He used to have an old letter set book, and I'd copy it. I'd write it. I'd always suffer. I'd sit over one side.
Yeah.
And then he'd give me a critique. First, before I actually wrote it in, and then secondly, when I wrote it in, he'd just tell me a few things. I'd wipe it off again, do it again. And his knowledge is insane. I mean, he was lovely the other day. He popped over and I gave him his book, and and I said, well, that wouldn't have happened without you. And he said, no, don't be daft. He's almost like. But I had a side. I've got a mind for the technical and the block and the shadow that actually he didn't have much exposure to until he came to us. And I
because of commercial stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, it was 1-2 colour maybe. Bosh,
Yeah.
put it on there. And then there's my dad saying, I want 12 colours on this bit of lettering. I said, oh, okay, well that looks like fun. He loved it, he really enjoyed it. But the technical that's shown in there of how to get the block accurate, how to get the shadow accurate, and they're things I've developed teaching so many people that I've had to work. It's like I just knew before, but then I had to put it in a way I can explain to people. And like I say, it's kind of all given away in that book, but it's like, well,
Yeah.
It's a legacy. It's showing people, but there's when you've got really good sign writers, that are saying it's the best sign, but best sign book I've read, and this is like a Bible. You're like, I've done something right here.
You've done something right. It's brilliant. Every page I turn in it, it's just like, that's awesome. That's so helpful. It's not like a book that you have to read. You can just skip to that. It's just like it's like you say, you've given away a lot. It could be 3 books worth in there, really.
But everything I do is. It's come from the heart.
Creative. It's all creative, completely. Yeah.
And I do little commissions for people. I have been this year. There's a thing on our website. You can order a sign, and it's very much, if you want me to do it, it's because you want me to do what I want to do. Do you know what I mean?
Not commission. So
yeah. You could give me some sort of rough guidance, but pretty much I'm going to do what I want. But
that's it.
Yeah, no, it's good. I love painting. It was actually really nice to start a lockdown. Once I established that, I did have a money stream doing the courses, and I started painting signs to sell. But it was just fun. It was just fun stuff. It was stuff I wanted to do, and I've come up with new fonts and stuff. So I did a lot of painting, more than enough, because running the firm, I might have 10. I might have 30 people work for me sometimes. So in the summer, and then I've got the tenants as well.
Yeah.
So in the summer I don't pick up a brush.
No, of course.
Winter I get back into it, but still I have to go and make sure they're painting things the right colour and doing this and strip that off. It's like being the conductor, where the conductor doesn't hold an instrument. So it might be when they've all gone home, you do a bit of painting. My dad always used to paint on Christmas Day because he claimed it was the only time he got any peace.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah.
Was he a sign writer then? Or was
No, but he did a tiny bit of sign writing, but we have got a little bit of his artwork left on the fair.
Okay.
Pictorial, but Mum did most of pictorial. But there again, he was running the fair, so we didn't really get time to do much. He did a bit of coach painting and stuff, but he taught me to line out, because Stan didn't line.
Oh, did he not? Because you're so good at that. That's one thing I remember from the course. Oh my God! I think you did one on the roof of your.
Yeah, that's showboating.
Yeah, just incredible. So good.
But it's one of those things. Once you learn it, once you've got it, it's like riding a bike. You can just do it, and I am pretty quick at it. But it's so satisfying because it's I find it relatively simple. Yeah. But Stan didn't do it. And but Dad said, you've got to pick up a lining brush. And when you first get a lining brush, are you joking?
Yeah, like this long, like what?
What? But I stuck it in, and of course I had a set of swing boats, and then there's loads of lining on that, and I've got another set of swing boats, and before you know it, you're doing coach linings or coach lines on wagons, and yes, it's not perfect there again, but you know, when people line things out with tape, you're like, oh no, you know,
no. This is what I love about. Another reason why I came on your course, and I've recently been on like a metal shaping English wheeling course. I just love learning all these new trades and new things. And yeah, neon making has been up there as well. But you can't. It's very, very hard to even find someone that will show you how to do it.
I saw a little film, I'm sure it was in Japan or something, where there's a resurgent, well, not really a resurgent, but there is some, you know, someone that's still doing it the traditional way, because it's all been superseded by LEDs and whatnot.
That's it.
So yeah, what about the welcome? That looks like Harry Potter lettering.
No, that's me. That's one of the first things I did. That's from. I've got this place is full of old props from shoots and things like that. That's just a bit of MDF, unfortunately.
Oh, I love film work props. So I'm always, whenever we do one, and we've got one going on at the minute, and I'm always like, what you can do with all that, like, you know. And normally it's not built that well,
no,
or it's built too heavy, because it's just built for show, and it's all mocked up so it looks old. But I'm just, I'm like a magpie to anything I think I can
just
look pretty, or I can sell to someone, because they did it all, don't they? It's shocking. They just throw it all away, don't they, on film
it's
jobs?
a very wasteful industry. Very wasteful.
Because I've just spent my life recycling everything I can. Everything gets 2 or 3 lives. You know, if we get
absolutely
replace a bit of wood, you chop it down into packing to put the rides on, and when that gets knackered, it gets chopped into firewood and lights the engine.
That's true. Yeah, brilliant.
We just keep things going. You know, it's just the nature of the beast. I can't.
Yeah, that's awesome. The best week I had, getting a little glimpse of your yard is awesome.
People love the yard. People would love to just come to the yard in normal times, and you have to kind of explain to people, no, this is our space, you know, and we need to get on. But when people do the course, don't matter all the information I teach you, you say to people at the end of the week, what was your favourite thing? Walking around the yard.
Walking around the yard, yeah, absolutely.
It's different every time, and there's always something being done, and so on and so forth. So it's a funny way of making a living what we do, but
and you do all the restorations there, do you, or the rides? Because there's
isn't that cute?
Oh, do you restore all the things there? Do you?
Yeah, we do 95% of it at the yard, and just, you know, even brilliant cutting. Are you familiar with brilliant cutting?
Well, I've never tried it, but yeah, I've signed it. Yeah.
Do you remember Aaron, who works for me? Well, he's in the block enough. Yeah, he does brilliant cutting.
Awesome.
He was interested, so Dave taught him. Dave Smith.
Oh, sure.
And we got
set yourself up for that as well. Then you got the wheel.
We set ourselves up for that, and he's brilliant at it. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you need some nice brilliant cutting done on a show, we're on it.
Okay, there we go.
And that was just, there's a handful of people in the country that could do it. So to me, there's the importance of keeping that alive with someone young like Aaron. I don't want to do it. I find it noisy and annoying, but I just love what he does.
Brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. And you know, I've got a guy who works for me, can do fabricating, he can do the English wheel, like you're saying. You know, he build anything.
There's a lot more to restoring those rides than just the paint. There's
so much.
Nuts and bolts.
I get to do the icing on the cake, and even just coach painting, which Aaron can do. And people that work for us, like in the summer, the staff. Some of them, if I can afford to, I'll give them work in the winter.
Well, I'm maybe expecting every single ride to be pristine because you've had enough time to repaint everything.
Well, funnily enough, I built up my toy town the other day, which is my little pedal car ride. And I got the tilt out, and it's blue and red. I'm like, I don't remember this, and I think I haven't built it up in like 13 months, and I probably got it right at the end of the season. I just completely forgot. So there's going to be things we get out. I was like, I don't remember painting that.
When was that? Yeah,
yeah, it's really funny, and it's nice. Built the gallopers up, and we've done all the outside horses, and we've done the top. So yeah. It's hopefully it will look good, but at the same time, I've got to. If things are coming along and people want something restoring, where normally I wouldn't have time, I'm going to make time, because we just got to keep things bobbing along, you know.
Yeah, it's brilliant. how productive you've been, and I think you've really made good of a pretty crappy situation. And it sounds quite like you've done really well. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, I think we went from having 6 books for sale on a website in March and being able to buy tokens to probably about 300 things for sale on a website. Signs I've painted, and even now the dippers and all the paint supplies, you can buy them on there. So get that on there.
Awesome.
Look,
a mug? I haven't got a mug. Oh no.
They're fresh. And of course, people are buying the book and then finding other stuff on the website. So listen, my glass is half full. I'm a very lucky person. I've got a beautiful wife. I've got beautiful kids. I've got good friends, even if I can't be with them, they're on the end of a phone. And you have to be positive in life,
That's it.
So what can we do?
That's brilliant. Well, you're doing a good job. Brilliant.
Been brilliant talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's been really good chat. Thank you so much.
And we'll speak soon. All right.
Thank you for making such an awesome book. I love it.
Enjoy it. Just put it behind you when you're filming.
Yeah, that's it. I just conveniently put it in my toolbox. I'll just keep it here.
Nice poster.
Yes, representing.
Represent. I'll see you later.
Nice one. Thanks so much, mate.
Cheers. Bye.